Hey guys, welcome back to Britney Spears Week here on my fragrance review channel. Today is day 3. No, it's not. Day 4. Earlier this week I talked to you guys about Private Show, the Fantasy Naughty and Nice remix, and Island Fantasy. And today I'm going to be telling you about another limited edition fantasy fragrance that was called the Intimate Edition. Now this fragrance was actually sort of an extension of Britney's Intimate Lingerie collection that she launched in 2015. So this went along with the collection just to sort of promote the theme and the style, and it's sort of a more romantic, intimate version of the original fantasy fragrance. So let's first begin by taking a look at the advertisement that Britney took for the fragrance. So this was kind of from the intimate photo shoot that she did for the lingerie. So we have Britney wearing one of her new pieces from the collection, the pink bra there. Very blonde hair in this ad, and kind of has like a little bit of a white, almost like hazy kind of filter. She's giving this very dramatic look into the camera. I would classify this look as both confident and bewildering. And then we have the bottle sitting at the bottom of the ad, and Fantasy the Intimate Edition written at the top. So here is the box for Fantasy Intimate Edition. I actually really like this box. It has a nice light pink sort of focus in the center with white lace going all around the front of the box. And along the sides we have more of that sort of lacy white rose combination. And on the back of the box, we do have the advertisement. So the one that I just showed you is also printed with the bottle, so you can have that as like a little keepsake if you do get the fragrance. Oh, you know what I didn't show you? She actually is wearing a necklace in the advertisement as well, just sort of like a simple diamond one. I don't know if that was actually part of the Intimate collection. It could have been just for the photo shoot, but it looks nice. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the bottle design. So now, of course, it is the original fantasy style of bottles, but of course we have a new color scheme to go with the intimate theme of the fragrance. So it is a completely white bottle. You cannot see through the glass, so it's kind of one of those fragrances where you're not really sure how much you have left, but I think it is a really nice, clean sort of look, and we have very light rose-colored crystals going around the bottle just to sort of match that sort of pink lacy white box that we have. And then the collar of the bottle is a very, very, very faint rose color. And then the lid, of course, is white. I actually really like this color scheme and design. It gives Fantasy sort of a nice, softer appearance. Okay, so as for the actual fragrance, so this is I would describe it as a soft, subtle, cozier, creamier remix of the original Fantasy fragrance that really gives its own signature kind of quality. It's not just, you know, the original Fantasy with some more vanilla in it. It really is a new kind of fragrance, but it of course is a member of the Fantasy family, and there are certain parts of it that really sort of scream the word fantasy, and then other parts that set it apart as more of an original scent. I actually think that this is one of Britney's best fantasy fragrances. There's a lot of fantasies nowadays, but this was actually my favorite one that she's done probably in the last like 5 years or so. So we're going to start with the top note, and I'm going to tell you right now, the top note is my least favorite part of this fragrance, and I actually think it kind of ruins what could have been a near perfect scent. Like, it doesn't ruin it to the point that it's a bad scent. I just feel like as soon as it kind of fades away, I'm like, oh, good riddance. Okay, so in the top note of the fragrance, we have violet leaves, zesty lemon, and lychee. I just find this a little strange because the heart and the base and the real like personality of the fragrance is this very cozy, creamy, romantic kind of scent. But it starts off with this rather harsh, zesty kind of opening. And that damn lychee. I actually never liked lychee being in the original Fantasy. I don't like lychee at all. She couldn't be bothered to come to the Naughty and Nice reunion, and here she is ruining Intimate Fantasy. So we end up getting this tart, zesty, a little bit harsh, kind of catches you off guard, and you know, you're looking around. Thankfully, it is a short opening. I mean, okay, realistically, it's not a bad opening. It would have been fine for a different fragrance. I just feel like for this one, it's a strange kind of start to what is going to be a very soft, delicious kind of fragrance. So thankfully, this sort of screeching top note is short-lived. The lychee kind of comes, breaks all the dishes, and then runs out the door. You sweep it all away, and soon we get into the heart of the fragrance, which has some very interesting notes. Okay, so in the heart of the fragrance, we have 4 main components. We have the 2 florals, which are the lily of the valley and the jasmine. And then we have 2 interesting accords. One is an accord of brown sugar, which really warms this fragrance and gives it the main signature fantasy sweetness. And the other is an accord of genet. Now I know what you're thinking. What did he just say? A genet is an animal. It's similar to a civet, which is an African cat. Back in the day, when perfumery was sort of a more luxurious kind of product, when only rich people could really afford fragrances, a very common sort of note was real animal extracts. Like they would extract musk and different animal products from specific types of animals that had those kind of glands. I know it sounds gross. It came to a point where a lot of these animals were becoming endangered or extinct, and so that practice was sort of minimalized. And nowadays, they still have those sort of notes, but they're like synthetic sort of reinterpretations of the real thing. Anyways, so there was a note of genet in this heart. Now, I doubt that Britney went to Africa and, gathered all the little cats. I'm assuming that this is, a synthetic sort of recreation of that animal musk that was added for, more of a natural kind of scent, more of a romantic, intimate, because it's coming from a real animal. I think that was just sort of the idea behind that note. But let's sort of move on and talk more about the brown sugar accord. So I feel like that note is actually the main character for this fragrance. It is that warm, cozy feeling that I was telling you about earlier in the video. It reminds me of like a nice little blanket that you're kind of wrapping around yourself. That's what intimate fantasy is for me. It's that very romantic, soft, subtle, comforting kind of creamy sweetness. This leads to a creamy, delicious base, which is a perfect kind of pathway that I'm glad the scent kind of went into. And in the base of the fragrance, we have vanilla, heliotrope, benzoin, and some white musk. That vanilla creaminess really lends itself beautifully to that warm brown sugar accord that was in the heart of the fragrance. It's a really balanced out kind of scent that's creamy and comfortable and delicious. And I feel that the heliotrope, which of course is a floral, is in the base. And Britney doesn't have a lot of florals in the base of her fragrances. I mean, they're not common to be found down there, but it was an interesting choice and sort of a welcomed addition, because I do find this fragrance to be surprisingly floral, more so than any of the fantasies. A lot of the fantasies, of course, have that sweet signature, plus a lot of fruits kind of mixed in, whereas this one, again, aside from that top note, which we're not even going to talk about anymore, it is pretty much just that warm floral creaminess kind of fragrance. It is one of my favorites from the Fantasy line and in her entire collection as well. It almost gives me like Fancy Love, Jessica Simpson vibes, but mixed in with the original Fantasy. It's kind of as if the two of them kind of came together. This is kind of what the result would be. It always has a sort of delicate charm to it. I think it was a really good combination of those florals with those more gourmand kind of notes, blending very well, very nicely together. And that this fantasy is a little bit more mature and has more of a sophistication than the original one, and a lot of other ones that came after it. I do kind of see Britney herself wearing this kind of fragrance, because it still has that fantasy charm, but it's more grown up. I do find that Intimate really was the perfect name for it. Now, of course, it is to go with the Intimates collection, but it just smells like a more intimate, sexy kind of fragrance compared to a lot of the other fantasies that had more of a kind of casual charm to them. This one, of course, has that romance and love kind of feel, and I'm really glad to have it as part of the fantasy collection. I do find it to be quite long-lasting. There's only a few fantasies that really don't last long, and this, is one that is something that's going to last pretty much the whole day for you. I've never had an issue with the lasting power of this fragrance. I like it when you can smell it like on your clothes the next day. I don't know why, it's just like, it almost smells better later on. I think it's because the farther away you get from that like fruity top, that sort of like zesty, mess, the deeper you kind of get into the fragrance, into that creamy base, into that sort of brown sugar heart, the better it gets. So it's definitely one of those scents that I think gets better as the day goes by. I find that like with some fragrances, you put it on, you love it, you love the top note, you love everything about it, but then after a few hours it fades and you kind of miss what it used to be. Whereas this one's like the opposite, like it gets better as the time goes on. It gets warmer, it gets more sensual, it gets more intimate, and you always have something to sort of look forward to when you're wearing this one. Alright guys, so I guess that's the end of my review for this fragrance. I don't find it to be a summer or I don't find it to be summer or spring. I'd say it's perfect for fall and winter. And it's sort of reserved. I think you should reserve it for when you're with that special someone, rather than going out or whatever. It's not really a going out fragrance, it's a staying in kind of fragrance. It's intimate fantasy, so it has that romance and love to it that I really like. So I would recommend it if you're looking for that sort of stay in kind of fragrance. By the way, this is the 50 milliliter bottle, in case you were wondering. Alright guys, that is the end of my review of Fantasy, the Intimate Edition. I hope you guys enjoyed that review, and tomorrow I'm going to be back with another Britney Spears fragrance review, so I hope you are having a good time this week with all of these videos, and I hope you're looking forward to the next ones. Alright.